This video is for B2B marketers and business owners who are looking to create a personalized content strategy for their business. It's going to be a very simple, straightforward, no-fluff guide walking you through every step of the process. We're going to do a competitive analysis, develop our value propositions, create our target 5 ideal customer profiles, brainstorm content for each one of them, and then prioritize them based off of the most amount of value that they're going to create for our business so you know which one to tackle first. And if you want the prompts that we go over in today's video, there's going to be a Google Doc link in the description below. Just click that, request access, and I'll email it right to you. And with that, let's jump right into it. Alrighty, so we have our pretend company that we're going to represent. Very real company, just we're going to be pretending or acting as if we were creating this B2B content strategy just for them. So I have this window open, which has our company and a few competitors. I've got ChatGPT 4 open as well. This is the paid version, which I highly recommend because I think it's so much better than the free version. And then we have our Google Doc of prompts. So what I'm going to start with is prompt number 1. And what this is going to do, let's drop in our competitor links. And what I did was I just Googled railcar and then took the first 5 companies that popped up there. And we're going to put in all of these competitors and we're going to ask them to do, or ask ChatGPT to do a competitive analysis on all of these companies. This is my favorite way to start because essentially I think this is a good starting point in that it's going to analyze all of these companies. It's going to go to their website, it's going to scrape that, and it's going to kick back to you some of the key things, or at least how they want to be perceived. I think this is a good first step before we give it our company name because we want to know where and how we can win. And if we don't know who the competitors are, we can't really build great messaging around any of our value propositions because there's no basis. If we say we're the fastest, but we're not, that's not going to resonate with our users. So being realistic, this helps us get to that more authentic or realistic type of claims that maybe we want to make. On to prompt number 2. This is going to be analyzing our URL as well as referencing everything we just put in there for our competitors to help us create a SWOT analysis, as well as build up our value proposition and our messaging. So a SWOT analysis, as you see getting filled in, it's going to be our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it knows all of our competitors. Now it's conducting this analysis, and then it's going to help build some key value propositions based off of all of that information. Now, all of this isn't going to be perfect. That's up to you to tailor, adjust, and so forth, but it's hopefully going to be pretty accurate for you. Step number 3. Now we're going to start building our ideal customer profiles. And so this is probably a more complex B2B sale, right? Purchasing a rail car or having this implemented on your fleet or on your yard, right? That's a big purchase. So not saying that this won't work for smaller purchases. What I am just saying is that this is probably the most expansive version of this where you have a lot of varying key players who are going to make decisions on if and when they're going to pull the trigger and how are they going to make that decision. So we have our strategic buyer, our economic buyer, our technical buyer, our user, the end user, and then our project or coach buyer, and you can kind of see that's listed here as a project manager. So each of these have their goals, their challenges, and what kind of impacts their decision making when they chose a new solution. Perfect. Now let's give ChatGPT a little bit of context before we hop into the next part. So this is just saying, as an SEO expert, what are your favorite phrases and content types for each phase of the marketing funnel? Awareness, consideration, and decision. And it's hopefully already giving us some good ideas. Now let's take that one step further. And let's personalize this to our strategic buyer, which, if we go back up, that's the leadership and executive level. Perfect. So now it's giving us a few different types of content for each phase of the funnel. And now we are going to rinse and repeat this for all of our other key players as well. This is the economic buyer. And if some of these don't make sense or don't fit, that's totally okay and normal. The goal here is to get a lot of ideas out and then hone it in and tailor it in so it's a little bit more practical. That's where your own expertise, your own experience, that's where this can come into play and help you maybe prioritize one or the other, scratch something, or say, hey, that's a little bit too complex. We should double down on that. Great. Now for the technical buyer, and I'm going to start moving a few things over to our spreadsheet. So if I go back up for the strategic buyer, perfect. And it's a very, very simple spreadsheet. Cool. Now we can see a little bit more of what could go in here. And I like doing this because it's a lot easier to share. And I'm going to copy and paste all those over, so I'll pause it so you don't have to sit and watch as I do it, but just kind of want to show where am I getting all this information from. Alrighty, that was the technical persona. Let's go to the user. And then after that, the project and coach persona. And then we only have one more prompt left after that. Awesome. ChatGPT is moving faster than usual today, which is great to see. Alrighty, one last one. Cool. And as this fills in, I'm going to pause it real fast. I'm going to copy and paste everything over the spreadsheet. I don't think you need to see any of that, so I'll be back in just a sec. All right, so I am back, and here is essentially what we have now. And let's make these a little bit wider so it's easier to see. Let's also just go ahead and freeze this so we know who we're talking about. Sweet. So one of the reasons why I like having this in a spreadsheet is so it's easier to share with your team members. And that way, if you are going through this and you already know somebody on your team can create this, you already have something like this, you can go ahead and mark that or put in a comment, what the status of it is. Oh, there's the comment feature. Now, a few things here. Next prompt is going to be about creating a prioritization, because knowing all this content you can create is one thing, but actually creating it is something totally different, right? Just having the idea isn't good enough. We actually have to execute it. So a few things to keep in mind as you go through this bigger piece. And I'll zoom out just a tiny bit. There we go. Right? So we have 45 pieces of content. We have 5 personas. We have 3 phases, 3 in each. So 9 times 5, 45. Hopefully that's the correct math. Now, when it comes to what order to prioritize here, let's first look at what do we already have in this vein that we can just update. Hopefully that's the easiest thing and requires the fewest approvals for us to go through. Next, maybe we start looking at a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs. We look at the search volume and we look at the keyword difficulty. Maybe something is in higher demand. Many more people are searching for it. So maybe that is what we want to create first. Or maybe the keyword difficulty, the ability to rank on Google or other search engines, maybe that is easier, so we want to prioritize those. That is where strategy comes into play, because we want to be thinking about what can we do the fastest, what can we do the easiest, and what can we do that starts getting traction right away. So this last prompt is going to be, if any of those don't sound right or you just want the order itself, we're going to say, hey, take those 5 personas and the 9 pieces of content, and I want you to rank them in a priority order. Put the topic, what phase it's at, what type of content, and who this applies to. So that is another way to think about the prioritization. If it applies to 2, 3, 4, or all 5 personas, that is a high value piece of content and one that we should probably put closer to the top. Perfect. So I already put that prompt in. I forgot I wasn't recording, but same prompt, and here is what we see. Perfect. So we have a case study. That is one of the first things it thinks, because It's appealing to 3 of our personas. This next one is another 3. So it's another case study, a guide. So this is great content that we can use to help see, what our marketing funnel looks like. Depending upon, the strategy and where your company is basis the other, if you're a new entrant, if you're existing, if the industry is mature or not, that's going to drive some of these decisions. That's going to drive some of these decisions. But hopefully this is a good guide for you. And what you can do, just go ahead and copy and paste this again. And I said, if something's overlapped, don't worry. So there must be, and the use steps, they keep on going, but you can just say continue generating. But either way, take that here, create a new tab, and this is not going to format perfectly. Maybe this is something inside of a Google Doc. Clear formatting, sweet. That's going to drive me nuts. Perf. Alrighty, so now we can, and I'll zoom back in a little bit more. So now we have all this as well. If you want to use a project management system, this is awesome. If you want to use a Google Doc, that is awesome. We prefer to use mostly Google and Monday.com, but this is a great way to expedite the content research process and some of the planning process. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new here. If you like this kind of content, definitely subscribe to the channel and drop us a comment on either your favorite part of the video or a topic you'd like to see us cover next.